Hello and welcome to day 7 of the Gold Club World Cup. This has been a week-long sort of tournament we've been going through where we've been seeing teams from the international scene and from the Chinese scene battle it out in both Battlegrounds and Constructed to kind of build up to this final moment where we're going to see which team can take the win in Battlegrounds and which team can come ahead in Constructed. And I'm Language Hacker, by the way, and here's Nayara. Good morning, Nayara. How are you?
Hello. Good morning, Language Hacker. I'm really excited for today to see who is going to win, since today we will have 3 lobbies in total, which means like half of we had been on the last days, right?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to have more action. And honestly, with the fast-paced battlegrounds that has been going on, it'll be nice to have a little bit of extra time to kind of see which team can kind of come out on top. Now, are you looking forward to battlegrounds more or constructed more?
Both can be.
Okay, cool. I've been enjoying a lot of the constructed, but battlegrounds, I think, for me, at least in this tournament, has been kind of one of the main focus points because of the fact that we don't really have too many like competitive battlegrounds events outside of a couple of invitationals that Hearthstone has set up. So it's nice to see it in a competitive setting, and hopefully in the future we'll see a bit more of that and be able to showcase some of the cool stuff that's going on in battlegrounds. Okay, let's get you guys some context. What is the Gold Club World Cup? For those of you tuning in just today, since we are on the finals, but let's give you a bit of a recap on what this is. So this is a tournament where Chinese teams have to qualify based on their performance in a different set of a league, let's call it the Gold Series Team Championship, where teams are involved in both constructed and battlegrounds, and they have to qualify individually through these two game modes. Pairing this together with some international invites, we see some teams like G2, T1, Team Liquid, and I believe FC Barcelona are invited to these as well. So we have a sort of Chinese and the international scene kind of clashing. Now, together with all these high caliber players, there is going to be a prize pool of approximately 690,000 yuan, or about 100,000 USD. So there is some stuff online here. It's not just a big show match for everyone. Yeah, and it's been exciting seeing these players kind of play under pressure and play some very interesting formats so far.
Yes, for sure. And for today, we will have Team Liquid, LP, G2, and WE for the Battlegrounds portion, right?
Definitely. Now, over the course of the past 6 days, we've had 8 teams in total start off in this tournament for Battlegrounds, and we've had them split up into 2 sections, Group A and Group B. Each of these groups has played 6 lobbies, and points have been awarded to players who have been finishing in first down through 8th, with a point distribution of 9, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, respectively for places 1 through 8. So over the course of these 6 lobbies, we've been adding up the total point counts from each of the players, and these 4 players that you just mentioned, LP, Team Liquid, WNG2, have made it to the finals. Now their scores are reset back to 0, and over the course of the next 3 lobbies, the point structure is still the same, and we'll be able to see which team will come out on top for Battlegrounds.
Yes. So here you can settle like we saw on the last days, like going for 4th to first place. You have to go for the first place every lobby.
Yeah, definitely. So in the past to get to the finals right now, what teams had to do were they just had to make it the top 2 in their group, which means you don't have to go super hard and go for risky strategies. You can kind of take it safe, make some consistent plays. You don't have to go for the super greedy lines. You can kind of take a safer line, even if it just gets you top 4, because you will get points for being top 4. However, it's not good enough to be top 2 now. To win, you have to be first place. And after the 3 lobbies, the team that has the most points, not the most first places, but the most points, will win. So we'll see if that kind of affects the team strategies, and we'll see if we see people going for riskier strategies or perhaps even riskier heroes. We've seen a few little weird heroes picked up yesterday when we saw that teams needed those extra points getting picked up. So we'll see if that pops up again today.
Yes, for sure. We saw like Reno being picked up, and you said that it's a high risk strategy, right? So
Yeah.
maybe we will see more Reno today.
Definitely. Hopefully, looking forward to it. It's a very fun thing to watch, especially if the teams can kind of level fast and get a big reward like that. Let's talk a little bit about some of the players we've been seeing Battlegrounds that have been performing very well. The top 4 points earners in Battlegrounds so far across all the groups have been in first place Trunks from Team LP, Surrender from Team T1, WTY Build from Team Liquid, and RDU from G2. And these 4 players have had the most points over 6 lobbies each. So these are probably players you'll want to watch out for a little bit today. Unfortunately, Surrender and Team One have not made it to the finals, but the other 3 players are in the finals today. On top of this, I also want to highlight Simi on G2 a little bit. Do you want to talk a bit about her?
Yeah, she's been like doing a really great job on this run, and she is the one I'm looking for today for sure.
Yeah, definitely. She's been doing really well. She's gotten multiple first places in the lobby so far, along with her teammate RDU. But the reason I want to highlight Simi is because we kind of know RDU streams. We know he's been playing so much Battlegrounds. So most of us, I don't think, were aware that Simi played at this kind of level. And it's nice to be able to see that, have someone come in where we haven't really been aware of her abilities and seeing her kind of just smash the competition along with her teammates. So we'll see if her with RDU are able to manage to take it all today in Battlegrounds.
Yes, for who missed it yesterday, on the first lobby, Simei got the first place, and then on the second lobby, Ardu got the first place as well. So they are going with all today, I think.
Yep. And here we can see the graphics to see, as a reminder, as a visual to see who's in the finals here. We're gonna be able to see the rosters here as well. Now, one thing I want to point out a little bit. When we started this whole event, we had some talks amongst ourselves trying to figure out, all right, who do we think's or what kind of composition are we going to see in the finals for both Constructed and for Battlegrounds? And by composition, I don't mean what minion types we're getting. I mean, how many Chinese teams are we going to see and how many international teams are we going to see? Because there's going to be a bit of a friendly rivalry, I suppose, to kind of see who comes out on top a bit more. And so far, we've had a pretty even mix of both Chinese players and international teams make it through to the finals in both Constructed and Battlegrounds.
Yes, we have like 2 internationals here and 2 Chinese here, and on the finals we will have 1 Chinese and international as well.
Now, we've talked a lot about Battlegrounds because we will be starting Battlegrounds first today, but let's talk a little bit about Constructed as well. Similarly, over the past 6 days, we've had teams kind of battle it out and try to get what they need and get through the initial matches to kind of make their way to the finals. And up until now, it's been a best of 1 match. And by a match, I mean a match is a best of 5. But today in the finals, and as well as the semifinals we had over the past 2 days, teams have been playing a best of 3 of a best of 5, which means that the first player to win 2 best of 5s will win the whole thing. So we'll get to see a bit of a reset after a player wins a match. So it's not all over after the first match the team wins. You want to tell us a bit about what the format looks like too?
Yes, it's super awesome. I like it a lot, the format for Constructed. And on the last day, we saw like Team 1 going with 2 wins in a row, so they didn't have to play the third one. And on the other day, IG had to win 2. Like they win, then they lose, then they win. So yeah, maybe we will see like 3 games today as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of action. The format we're seeing now in Constructed for this tournament, at least, is a bit different than what we're used to from the international scene, where we've been having a lot of, first of all, we've had Conquest, and we've been having best of 5 with 1 ban, where players are required to bring 4 classes, teams get to ban 1, and then they play with the remaining 3. This format is a lot different. Each team was required to bring 10 classes, which is already kind of wacky. But on top of that, each team is going to ban 4 classes of their opponents in order. So they each ban 1, they get to see the bans, they each ban 2 more, they get to see the bans, they get to ban a 4th class, and then they have 6 classes left over. Between the 6 classes, now they play a best of 5, but in last year's standing. So they can queue any of their 6 classes at the start, If they win a game, they have to keep playing that class that they won with. If they lose a game, that class is knocked out and they have to choose from the remaining 5. So there's a lot of mind games going on because the players don't have to choose all 6. And another thing to point out because of the format is that we're going to be seeing a lot more wacky decks because you can bring something very, very polarizing like Murloc Paladin, and if you don't want to queue it, you don't have to. But if you find a good opportunity to queue that against something you need to win against, it can be very, very spicy. And I think we've seen that a little bit over the past few days as well.
Yes, we saw some paladin, but we saw like a lot of shamans being queued. And
Yeah.
what is like super nice and I'm excited to see is that on the first day, on the second pick, like the team IG changed the bans. And T1 yesterday didn't change anything. So I'm curious to see if they will keep with this strategy or if some of them will change.
Yeah, definitely. So in between each match, players are allowed to change their bans, and they're also allowed to change what class they queue up first with. So when I'm talking about mind games, it's kind of trying to figure out what your opponent's going to do, maybe try to pick something a little riskier that lines up well against what your opponent thinks they're going to queue up. And like you said, Team IG has been kind of mixing it up, or either to mess with their opponents, or maybe they just thought that, hey, maybe we should have actually banned this the first time. Let's change it up a little bit. And that's totally something you can do if you think your strategy is not working, or even if you just think your strategy is working and you want to get a bit more of an advantage and mix things up, you can do that as well.
Yeah, so we are going into the Battlegrounds, Language Hacker.
Here we go. Okay, already a little unconventional on the heroes here. We see Maleficent and Curator.
Yes,
not weak
it's
heroes.
the first time we see Curator here.
Yeah, not weak heroes, but they're picked less often. Now players are given 4 heroes to choose from at the start of the game, and they can choose which one they either are more comfortable with, the one they think is more powerful, or the one that lines up well against what's available in the lobby. Each lobby will have 1 minion type banned, and we will not be able to see that minion type for the duration of the lobby. And in this lobby, it's beasts.
Yes. We are not seeing like that amount of beast composition, so I don't think they will miss it.
Yep. RDU picks Sir Finley here. Now, Sir Finley is a unique hero power where you get to see the board, and then you are offered 3 different hero powers, and you get to choose which one you want to pick in the lobby. And this also lets you take a look at everyone else in the lobby, see what they're picking, and also see what's available in the shop for you right at the start, which can give you a bit of an informational advantage in terms of how you pick your hero against what else is in the lobby. And he ends up going for Alex Strauss's hero power.
Strauss. Yeah.
And we have another Alex in the lobby as well, so maybe we'll be seeing a couple of dragons here.
Yes. Our Nightwalk going into Maiev, which is a really strong minion. Hero.
Yep. A lot of heroes that end up getting a minion from the shop for less than 3 gold tend to be pretty strong. And Maiev is one of them. You can, for those who don't know, you can buy minions from the shop for 3 gold, but some hero powers let you get it for 1 gold. And Maiev makes a minion dormant in the shop, and in 2 turns you get it. So even though it's delayed, you're only paying 1 gold for a minion, even though you get it later.
Okay, since we are on the beginning of the show, do you want to comment a bit with what is the economy inside the Battlegrounds?
Sure. So each player starts off with 3 gold at the start of the game, and you start having rounds. Each round, you get 1 extra gold available to you. So turn 1, you have 3 gold, turn 2, you have 4 gold, turn 3, you have 5 gold, all the way up, and it caps out at 10 gold, like in Constructed, even though in Constructed we have mana. We have a tavern available as well, where you're offered a specific pool of minions, and as you level up your tavern to the next tavern tier, and the tavern tier is denoted by the number of stars next to Bob there, you have access to higher quality minions. All the minions in the shop cost 3 gold, doesn't matter what tavern tier it is. So when we talk about economy, it's about managing the gold you have. When you sell back a minion back to Bob's tavern, you get 1 gold back. So there's ways you can pick up minions that have special Battlecry effects, similar to Constructed. Battlecry works the same as in Battlegrounds as it does in Constructed. So there's ways to kind of manage your gold, and there's ways to get discounts on minion based on your hero, based on specific minions that you picked up, and it's all about managing how much gold you have and how much you can do with it.
Yes, and here we saw Show already facing his partner Whitebill, and Show didn't put a minion on the board because, of course, you want to let your board a bit weaker on this beginning of the game against your partners, right?
Yep, definitely. You don't want to deal too much damage to your partner because you need both of you to start getting points because your total point score is added up between yourselves for the team. It's not an individual win, it's a team win.
Yes, and here Trunks is going all the way with demons, and of course he has Jaraxxus.
Yeah, pretty good start for him as well. He has 2 Wrathweavers and 2 Homunculuses. 2 pairs, but also exactly what you want as a demon start. You want scalable demon-y things, and Wrathweavers can scale.
Yes.
Gets a tie here against WTY Bill. Now, we tend to, look, as a bit of context, an important thing in Battlegrounds right now is tempo. Similar to Constructed, I'm sure you guys have all heard of go for max tempo or, make a tempo play or stuff like that. What that means here is not being greedy and trying to level up early and just putting more money into kind of buying stuff earlier. And we see this a lot with some heroes that like to stay at lower tavern tiers. And Jaraxxus can definitely be one of them because a lot of the early demons, they want to find that early on and make sure they can scale with their hero power, which buffs all the demons on the board by +1/+1.
Yes, and you pay only 1 mana. So yeah, if you manage to find some demons on the early game, is the way to go with Jaraxxus.
Generally, we see heroes that take advantage of tempo and they give buffs. We see heroes like Daryl, where he throws hats when he sells a minion, which gives minions in the tavern +1/+1 randomly. We see Kel'Thas, which every 3rd minion he picks up gains +2/+2. We see people generally take minions that have tempo-oriented hero powers because it helps them survive the early game and get them to the late game where they can start making more decisions, where they can start making more purchases and kind of figure out where they want to take their composition. In this lobby, however, we see there are some tempo options, but there's also some interesting heroes that we don't normally see picked up, namely Maleficent, Mana Storm, and Jaraxxus. Maleficent has the hero power where every mech in Bob's shop gets +1/+1, which tends to be decent, but generally not the sort of strategy you want to go for first place for. So I'm curious if WTY Bill is going for a top 4 strategy or if that was just one of the best hero options he was offered.
Yes, but since we don't have beasts, maybe Mechs isn't a bad thing, right?
Yeah, Mechs are definitely strong. To some extent. Now, I've talked about scaling a lot over the past few days, and what I mean by scaling is that in Battlegrounds, you are limited, just like Constructed, to 7 minions on a board. So once you have 7 minions, you need to find some way to get stronger, right? You can't just have the same 7 minions forever. So we see people, there's a couple ways they scale. One is buying Battlecry minions that buff the minions on your board. Another way is buying self-scaling minions that kind of buff themselves over time. And mechs don't have that many ways to self-scale or to scale in general. There's not that many Battlecries that support them. So mechs can be a lot stronger mid-game, but they tend to fall off late-game when other compositions find bigger ways to scale, because eventually they have minions so big that your mechs with Divine Shields don't actually kill them. So we'll see if WTY Bill's strategy can kind of pay off in the mid-game before they get to the late game.
Yes, and here for Finlay, which is RDU, he is with like a mech pirate thing, right?
Yeah. Now, early on, there are still you can pick up a variety of minion types, but early on, when I'm talking about tempo, we generally see players pick the strongest minions they can find early game, because getting to late game is the more important thing, making sure you have access to more decisions and being able to have more agency over what's going on in the game. So early game, we see people just pick up whatever's good to make sure they survive later on. And then as they tavern tier up, they have access to more build-defining minions, such as Caligo, such as Bran Bronzebeard. And getting to that point is more important than committing to a specific composition early. So what we see now may not be what the players are going for ultimately. It's just whatever they thought was good at the moment.
Yes, and here Ardu he made into the Tavern 5, which is the hero power of Alexstrasza. And I don't know if he got like super good dragons, right?
No, he did not. So Alexstrasza, once she levels to Tavern Tier 5, gets to discover 2 dragons, and this includes any dragon in the pool. You can even discover a Tavern Tier 6 dragon like Kalagos, which is a build-defining minion that lets dragons scale. Unfortunately, RDU looks like he did not get great options. He did manage to find a triple, which hopefully should help him if he can get a good discover off of that triple. When you buy 3 of the same minion, they fuse together, become a golden copy, where their effects are doubled generally, and once you get a triple and you play it, you get to discover a minion from the Tavern tier above you. So because RDU has leveled so aggressively to 5 to be able to get that hero power, his triple will now give him a Tavern tier 6 minion, which are generally some of the most powerful minions in the game.
Yes, and I didn't see that before, but the one which is with Alexstrasza is Simei.
Oh, so they're both Alexstrasza. Oh,
yeah.
that's so funny. She ended up doing quite a bit of damage to him. They need to be careful. The good news is they can't face each other now. Once you face someone, you can't face them for, I think, 2 or 3 rounds. So they'll be able to dodge each other, but it is unfortunate that they ended up facing each other there.
Yeah.
Looks like Simi just got to 5, and she's discovering some pretty good dragons here.
Yes. Almageddon?
So Razorgore scales by itself every turn. At the end of the turn, he buffs himself by +1/+1 for every dragon on your side of the board. Amalgadon adapts once for every unique minion type on your board. So it has a more powerful effect immediately, but it doesn't scale. And I think Simi's looking for something that can help her scale a bit more because she needs to kind of find something. Her board is kind of weird. There's no specific... Okay, well now she definitely has a direction, but before she didn't quite have a full direction outside of a few dragons she had.
Yes, so she's going with the dragons here.
Mm-hmm.
Bran is really tempting.
Bran is always tempting because, so Bran, for those who don't know, doubles the effectiveness of your battle cries. So one way to scale is just by playing a bunch of battlecry minions, buffing your minions one at a time. Bran lets you do that twice as fast, just for the cost of 3 gold. So it increases how fast you can scale. But there's no buffs that buff your entire board of dragons. There's buffs that buff an individual dragon. So in a full dragon comp, we generally don't see players pick up Bran, although it's not unheard of if they do need some way to scale, if they don't have a Kalagos or something like, or a Razorgore already.
Yes, I didn't get to see if her freeze her board, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Draxus not looking too healthy. Draxus already at 15. So the way Wrathweaver scales, for those who don't know, it's an early game minion. You can buy it at Tavern Tier 1. Every time you play a demon, it gains +2/+2, but it damages your hero by 1 health. So it gives you a way to scale fast early. The problem is you start losing your own health. So if you end up becoming weaker later on and other people outscale you, you have less health to work with and you might die in 1 or 2 hits. And we're kind of seeing that Trunks on Draxus is very low right now. And I'm not sure if that's just from playing demons or if it's from losing rounds. It's hard to tell.
Yes. But since we saw like the Trunks board and has a lot of demons, but now I think he has Mal'Ganis, right?
Yeah.
So he will manage to not get that kind of damage.
Mm-hmm. We see Nightwalk here, leveled pretty quickly. His board was quite strong. Now he doesn't have a full direction, like we were saying. Without seeing a specific composition to kind of go for, you kind of pick up what's good. But Nightwalk does pick up Kalagos, and this gives him a way to scale. Kalagos buffs all your dragons every time you play a Battlecry minion. So we see players exactly like this, Nightwalk picking up every Battlecry minion, even though it's a 1/1 Pogo. That Pogo gave him +3/+3. It buffed each of his dragons on that board.
Yes, and he doesn't want to get rid of the Pogo because the player who has less minions on the board is the one who will attack second. So you want to flip the coin, see if you attack first, right?
Better to flip a coin than not flip a coin at all, you know? Guaranteed second versus sometimes going second. for those who aren't aware, we haven't explained everything about this game yet. Minions attack from left to right, and when they attack a random enemy minion. If there's a minion with taunt or multiple minions with taunt, they will randomly attack one of the taunted minions first. Similar to Hearthstone, you have to hit taunt before you can hit something else.
Yeah.
Similar to Constructed, I should say. Okay, RDU's board still not that strong. He was looking for some better dragons.
Yes, and here Simei will take the defeat. Pretty
It's
harsh.
not what G2 is looking for. I thought Simei had a decent board at the time, but it looks like someone else had a stronger board. So buying stuff like or discovering Razorgurt was good for her, but once you level to 5, you tend to be a bit weaker because you're leveling faster than your opponents. Your opponents are putting more money into getting things onto the field for tempo, which is one of the reasons why Alexstrasza is riskier, because you give up some health and some tempo to go for a greedier strategy and try to get a big payoff. And even though Simei got some of the payoff, it looks like she wasn't able to become strong enough to make up for the fact that she was weaker earlier.
Yes, here RDU was looking for the Caligos, but he didn't get it, so he's going to the how's her name? Adina, yeah.
So Nadina, when she dies, her death rattle gives all friendly dragons Divine Shield. It's not scalable like Caligos, but it's still a powerful one-time effect, and that's definitely a power spike for RDU. Like you said, he would prefer to be looking for Caligos, something that lets him scale farther into the late game. But I think he'll take Nadina at least as a consolation prize.
Yes.
You see Nightwalk scaling.
Nightwalk's making like a huge board.
And this is an interesting thing to point out. So generally, if you have something like Caligos, you want to be buffing a full board of 6 dragons. However, if you have to give up strong minions to put another dragon on your side of the field, you are immediately weaker. And it looks like Nightwalk is just focusing on being as strong as possible for as long as possible, which means he's not selling this boat. He's making sure he just buffs the dragons he already has while maintaining the stronger units on his board, like the Imp Mama and the Tide Raiser. This means that he's more likely to knock other players out faster, and even if it means he's scaling a bit slower than he otherwise could, it means he might just knock players out before they can get their builds online.
Yes. Okay, so looking good here against Dario.
Yep. Edwin's hero power is 1 gold. Give a friendly minion +1/+1 for every minion you've purchased this turn from Bob's Tavern. So we see that hero power used a lot on mechs with Divine Shields, because if you buff a Divine Shielded minion, it can attack twice. So it's almost like that buff is happening. You get twice the effectiveness of the buff. We see that a lot on Divine Shields. We see it on cleave minions as well. However, Cave Hydra with beasts being banned in this lobby, we're not going to see that cleave.
Yes, and here BF, he went with the mech composition.
Yep. Mech composition can be pretty good with Curate as well once you start off with an Amalgam. An Amalgam is a minion that has all minion types, so it can be treated as a mech, as a dragon, as a beast, as a merle. It can be treated as any of those minions. So when you're applying Battlecry buffs, all the buffs work on it. If you're giving it a magnetic minion, all the magnetic minions work on it. And that's one of the powerful aspects of being Curator. And we can see that this little Amalgam is already very big and has Taunt and Divine Shield.
Yeah. So RDU is going to face him right now. So
Yep.
let's see. Both are
of them,
with not
both
much
don't have exactly. So let's talk about how damage works. At the end of a battle, once you face someone and your board fights, one player will win or they will tie. If one player wins, the Tavern tier level of each minion remaining plus the Tavern tier you are at is dealt as damage. So for example, if there's a Cobalt Scalebane and 1 Microbot left at the end of the board, the Scalebane will deal 4 damage, the Microbot will deal 1 damage, and RDU's hero would deal 5 damage for a total of 10. All tokens deal 1 damage. So early on, you take very small points of damage, maybe 2, 3, 4, but as we progress later in the game, players can end up taking quite a lot of damage at the end of a round. And I've seen players take upwards of 20, 30 damage in one hit based on how strong the composition is.
Yes, and this deflecto bot will make the work.
So it looks like they were still pretty close in strength, which means even though RDE loses this and takes 7, he's not out of it just yet. I don't think he can lose another round, but no, he can't lose another round. I think if he loses another one, he'll be out. And with his teammate Simi being knocked out in 8th place, I definitely think he needs to find a way to get stronger right now.
Yes, and here Trunks is already out too.
Yep. Jiraxis can get a pretty strong start. And I believe he did end up getting a strong start, but one of the downsides of going Jiraxis and damaging yourself with Wrathweavers and Homunculuses means that if you do start losing, you can die very quickly because you have less health to work with than other players who, even though they might have been stronger earlier, they have more health to work with because they haven't been hitting themselves in their face.
Sure. And here is a really nice composition for Nightwalk.
We talked about him having only 3 dragons earlier, but since then, he's picked up some other good dragons. Generally, you don't want to pick up any dragon, but it looks like he found some higher quality dragons that he wanted to start scaling as well. Or he thought that the other minions he had available were just not as strong, and he needed to move past them.
Yes, and even Imp Mama is already buffed.
Yeah, it's one of the minions that can get buffed as a demon. There's not many demon buffs. In fact, there's only 2 demon buffs in the game. But if you can get it, it's pretty good.
Yeah, so let's see how is that going. Nightwalk against RDU. And White Bill against, I don't remember who is Daryl.
Yeah, we'll find out shortly. But we see Daryl taking advantage of dancing. Normally the minions you see on his side of the board are not this big, but because of isolating minions in the shop, selling minions off to make sure your hats go on a specific minion, Daryl is able to make specific minions bigger and then buy them. We see that through his larger minions now.
Yes, so let's see. Not that really good golden minions for White Bill. So he's going out. Yeah.
It looks like RDU was just knocked out as well, so not the greatest start for Team G2. Team Liquid and LP still have 1 player apiece in, but Team World Elite has 2 in the top 4, so they'll probably be ahead in points after this lobby.
Yes, this is huge for them.
Definitely. There's 3 lobbies today, so getting a head start on the first one is definitely an advantage, but that's not to say that the other teams can't, take back the points lead with a couple of wins.
Yes, if you mess up in one of the lobbies and the other one no, so yeah, you can get a lot of advantage on that. Show buffing his Mechs.
One of those cleaves that we were talking about, the Foe Reaper on the far left. When a cleave attacks, it deals damage to the left and right of its target as well as its initial target. So it can hit up to 3 minions. If it hits something on either end of the board, on the left side or on the right side, it only hits 2 because there's nothing to the left or to the right of that minion.
Yes, and because Foe Reaper is a mech, Show put a Divine Shield, and a cleave with Divine Shield is really good.
Yep, it's very good. It helps protect against poisonous if that's something that Show's afraid of as well. But generally, buffing up cleaves is very, very valuable because they can deal damage to 3 minions at once on top of 1. So if they get a really good hit in, it can end up winning you the game because of it.
Yes.
We see Show's board pretty big, all over the place. All of his minions are kind of large.
Yes, but I think Show is out of here.
Maybe? You think so? Yeah, Nightwalk's board is... And this is the power of having Kaligos, right? We talked about scaling, and now you can actually see the benefits of it. Nightwalk got to a point, even though he doesn't have that much health left, it took him a while to get to this point. He managed to make his board so big that his opponents just couldn't do enough damage to it. And when your board gets that strong and so many minions are left up at the end of the round, you do so much damage to your opponent.
Yes, and here we have Nightwalk for WE and PF for LP, trying to get the first place finally.
Yep. If we compare these two players' boards, I've already talked about Nightwalk's board scaling, but if you look at PF's board, we talked about mechs. Divine Shields are powerful. There are some buffs, as you can see from the high attack on the Deflectobots and the Harvest Golem and the Amalgam, that PF has been finding Metal Tooth Leapers, which their battle cry is give all friendly mechs +2 attack. So they don't gain a lot of health, but having extra attack on Divine Shields is still very useful. But other than that, it's hard to scale mechs. So even though PF has scaled to a point here, I don't know if it'll be enough to get through the raw stats that Nightwalk has on his dragons.
Yes, for sure. And here PF managed to find another Amalgadon, and he left for the last one on board. So the Amalgadon is still on the board. It's a dragon, so which will scale, and he got the poison one, which is huge already.
Yep, definitely. Generally, poisonous minions are very powerful in this game because when we talk about scaling compositions, if you have an opponent who has, let's say, 100 pirate worth of stats, that's very difficult to deal with. But if you have even a 1/1 Murloc with poisonous on it, it'll kill the big pirate. That's kind of to give you an example of why poisonous can be so powerful. It's a lot weaker against Divine Shields, but again, the adapt was random. It's not like Nightwalk chose it. But just to kind of explain how poisonous works. So, I mean, it works the same as in Constructed, but it has a very strong purpose in Battlegrounds.
Yes, and I think this is it. Nightwalk will take the first lobby here, Language Hacker.
Yep. Murlocs tend to be the strongest late game composition, but if there's no Murlocs around, dragons are very powerful as well. And we can see that from Nightwalk.
Yes, nobody went with the Murloc composition on this first lobby.
Yeah, and that kind of goes to show with play with what you're offered. If you see good, strong minions early, take them. Make sure you get to mid game, make it to late game, where you can kind of get to these this bigger sort of powerful minions that let you scale, like Caligos, like Bran. I don't think we ended up seeing Bran anywhere there. For the most part, there were Mechs builds and quite a few dragons. Actually, there were 3 or 4 dragon compositions in that lobby.
Yes, and demons we had like 2, I think. And yeah, Nightwalk managed to get the first lobby here, which is huge for them.
Yeah, World Elite is in first after this lobby so far. World Elite is in first place with 14 points. Team Liquid is in second place with 10 points. Team LP is in third place, right behind Liquid with 9 points. And G2, with an unfortunate start, is at 4 points. But they're not out of it. There's 2 lobbies left. With some good placements, they can still get a first place, I believe. But they have to do really well. I think they need back-to-back first places, likely, and maybe even not just the first place, but the second teammate to also get a decent score.
Yes, and we already saw them doing this yesterday, so maybe we will see it back to back today. And yeah, let me see here. Yes, the scores. So yeah, we have another 2 lobbies for today. So we have a lot of action yet. Everything can happen.
To give you guys some information as well, I said that a lot of players in that lobby ended up trying to make dragons work. We saw Nightwalk, who won the lobby, managed to get there. Let's talk about why that worked so well for him. We saw at the end of the game there, his board had 2 Caligoses, a minion that lets all your dragons scale together. If we look at RDU and Simi, who both also want dragons, they could not find a Caligos. They ended up finding, at least RDU found an Adina, but without being able to scale, both of them kind of fell behind the rest of the pack. Let's talk a little bit about how the minion pool works. So each minion in the game has a number of, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a specific number of each minion in the game. So let's say there's, I think, 6 or 7. There, at Tavern Tier 6, there's 7 of each minion type there. So once, let's say, 2 Caligoses are picked up, there's only 5 left in the pool, which makes it harder to pick up. So when multiple players go for the same composition, one of them is more like they're each more unlikely to find what they need because there's so many other players trying to get the exact same minions that they're getting, and that might be one of the reasons why some of the other dragon compositions had trouble getting what they needed.
Yes, we saw yesterday some of the players trying to go with Murlocs, and then at the end of the run, we saw a lot of menagerie, which is like some types together, like dragons and Murlocs, or Mechs and Murlocs, or something like that, because they couldn't find like the minions for the composition to end with all Murlocs.
So definitely, when you end up having, when we talk about a composition, it's a group of minions together that kind of generally have synergy. We see beasts generally all together. We see Murlocs all together because they work together. Now, it's not always possible to get all those synergies. So what players do sometimes is make a sort of menagerie build. We call it menagerie because it's a little bit of everything. They have a bit of each minion type, and they're trying to just make a strong board as possible. You can have battle cries that buff multiple minion types on your board, like Menagerie Magician, like Zubat, which in the late game, if you can't find one specific thing, like a dragon composition or a mech composition, it lets you kind of give you a way to scale, even though you don't have a full setup.
Yes, and here we saw Nightwalk going with Syndragosa. Do you have some thoughts on her?
So Syndragosa is very interesting. Her hero power is passive. Every time she freezes the board, the minions in the tavern gain +1/+1. And what freezing the board means is that in the tavern, the minions you're offered from Bob each turn, you can freeze it. And what freezing it does, it means that next tavern, you will have the exact same options. So it's like you're freezing the minions in place, saying, hey, don't go anywhere. I want you, but I'll buy you next turn. So it's not the strongest hero power late game, but early on, you just freeze every board you get, and eventually, in 2 or 3 turns, even though these minions are from a low tavern tier and aren't the highest quality, they just have a bunch of stats on them because you've been freezing them for 2 or 3 turns. So she definitely has some good tempo early, but it doesn't translate very well to late game.
Yes, and here we have Eudora, which we didn't have one on the last tavern. And yeah, I think we saw Eudora in every lobby since the beginning of the game tournament.
Eudora is definitely one of the strongest heroes right now, if not the strongest hero. That being said, there's more than 28 heroes in the pool, and with each of there's more than 32 heroes in the pool, and with each player having 4 options to choose from, sometimes the heroes will be left out. And I imagine that Eudora probably was left out last round because no one was offered it. But this round, we definitely see someone going Eudora.
Yeah, so here we will see what Nightwalk is planning to do. I think he will buy 2 minions already.
Yep, definitely. And this
freezing.
This is kind of the power we see. Freezing since turn 1, even though these minions generally aren't powerful by themselves, with all the green text now, where they have like bigger stats, it looks a lot better. A Micro Machine at 3/4 looks so much better than a 1/2.
Yeah, for sure.
And the thought process behind it is that generally a weak minion like Micro Machine buffed is better than the average Tavern Tier 2 minion you can get, which is why freezing on 1 and on 2 is almost always correct, because the bigger statted minions are going to be better than the higher quality units on Tavern Tier 2. After you get to 2 and 3, then you can start rolling and picking up other stuff, but early on it's definitely worth freezing as Syndragosa.
Yes. And here I'm not finding Simei on the board. I think we have like 2 white bills. I don't know why.
Team Liquid wants to make sure they have a really good shot at winning this. So W2I Bill looks like he's playing 2 different heroes. I think one of them must be Simi.
Yes, I think she is with Reno. No,
RDU is Reno. Then maybe Simi is Maleficent? We'll get this sorted out for you guys. I think there's a bit of a mix-up on the scoreboard here, but we'll try to figure it out. We see Reno. Yeah, so we talked about him being a higher risk, higher reward sort of hero, and perhaps that's why RDU picked it, because he realizes he needs to get a high finish for his team.
Yes, and can you explain what Reno does?
So Reno's hero power costs 2 gold. It changes a minion on your side of the board to become golden. This generally is very weak early because most of the early game minions have a low impact. It still helps you with tempo early if you think you're too weak, but what we see players do to try and win lobbies is they level up aggressively, try to survive long, find a powerful build-defining minion like a Baron Rivendare, like a Kaligos, like a Brand Bronzebeard, and then they spend 2 gold to make it golden. Like I said, golden minions have more power than their non-golden versions. Something like a Brand Bronzebeard, when in golden, triples the amount of battle cries that go off. A Baron Rivendare triples the amount of death rattles that happen. So it really, really gives you a huge power spike once you get there. The problem is your hero power does nothing until that point, and you're fighting against all these players who have more tempo-oriented hero powers that have buffs early. So it can be difficult to make it to the late game where you are able to use your hero power effectively, but if you make it there, you are at such an advantage.
Yes, because this hero power can be used one time per game.
Exactly. It's not like the other passive ones or ones that you can use once every turn. Once, period.
Yeah. So here we have Sparkling going with the Dancing Daryl.
Yep. Daryl tends to be a decent pickup, like we said, being able to dance on minions and make them bigger before some of the other players can because of the fact that you can throw hats on them tends to be a pretty good strategy. It's difficult to get first with Daryl, but he generally has a pretty good time getting a top 4.
Yes, and WE is in a really good spot here, so they doesn't have to go like super greedy on this one. Maybe on the last one, depending the place they will get on this, but for now they are really fine.
Yeah, definitely. And we talked about this a little bit. Since the point distribution goes in order from first to 8th, you get 9 down to 1 points. So you still get points for top 4, you still get points for 6th place, you still get points for 2nd. You get points all over the place. So if Team WE is already in the lead and they're comfortable with that lead, they can try going for strategies that have a top 4 consistency. It's harder to win with, but if they just get top 4s, top 3s, and they're in the lead already, it means that they can kind of secure more points instead of having to go for a riskier strategy that may not pay off. I kind of like this from them. If they were offered slightly more consistent, if they were offered higher risk heroes but went for the more consistent ones, I think that's probably a good strategy for them at this point.
Yes, and one thing we didn't comment here is that on this run we will not see pirates.
Correct, yes. Pirates are out, which means no gold grubbers.
Yeah.
Gold grubbers are one of the self-scaling units where they gain +2/+2 at the end of the turn for every golden minion you have on your board. It works very well with Eudora. So with pirates being out, it means Eudora has one less way to kind of scale people. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and here we are seeing Sime is the one with the Maleficent.
Gotcha. Not in a great spot. She's got a lot of damage coming in early. Generally, the mech builds come online around Tavern Tier 3, Tavern Tier 4, so we're nearing the point where she can pick up those influential mechs. We see RDU on Reno staying strong with 30 health, relatively strong at this point. If you can find a triple, get to 4, discover a good 5-drop, then he can probably, I say 5-drop, that means Tavern Tier 5 and in, he can probably get that hero power rolling. He's in a good spot.
Yeah. He's going with a mech beast composition Death Rattle.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's the thing. Pick up whatever's good at the time. He saw that the pack leader works well with a rat pack. He saw that he has Deflectobot and some other mechs. And he's just picking up stuff that's strong. Trunks with Maev here, able to discover a Tavern Tier 5 minion. Bran is available, and he has a lot of health to work with. Bran has no immediate impact because he just lets your other battle cries be more effective, but it's one of the ways that you can scale faster, especially with Murlocs. Bran is something you want to get those Murloc buffs happening twice. So I'd be surprised to see him pick anything other than Bran here, but he might be considering going for Bagurgle. Bagurgle is an immediate buff if he thinks he needs the buff now.
Wow.
Oh, actually, looking at his board, it is a little weak, so he might want to go for the Bagurgle.
Yes. Really sad for Trunks here having to go with the Burger Grill.
I mean, it's a tough call there because both of them are stuff that you want in the composition. Bran lets you work. Oh, he is against someone strong here. Perhaps that changed his decision. You can see who you're facing next in the tavern. You can see how much health they have, and you can see what kind of minion types they have available. For example, if your opponent has mostly mechs, the sidebar will say this person has 4 mechs or something like that. So considering
Depending
who
on
he's
the last run, right? The
exactly
last confront.
depending on what was seen the last round. So I actually like this option. He ended up going for Bagurgle. If he didn't take Bagurgle, he might have taken like 5, 6, 7, 8 more damage. So even though it doesn't, it looks kind of weird because Bran is one of the most important minions there, he still needs to be strong enough to get Bran. If he takes Bran and dies, then it doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah.
W2I Bill's second dig coming in. Not the most impactful unit, but he's at Tavern Tier 5 now, so he gets to discover a Tavern Tier 6 minion.
Okay, Khadgar Apprentice can be the choice here since he has some mechs.
Yep. It works with Mechanoeg. It's hard to make the mech death rattle thing work, especially if you don't already have Baron Rivendare. Gas Coiler is just a strong unit by itself, so if what W2I Bill thinks he's weaker now, he might take the Gas Coiler. But Goldrun is also a completely workaround card where if you throw a Goldrun down and just buy in a bunch of beasts, the Goldrun Death Rattle gives them all +4/+4, which can be one of the ways you... It's not quite scaling, but it gives you a big power spike. Looks like he is going for the Mech Death Rattle build because he thinks that with the eggs already, it makes a lot of sense. And I think that's fair.
Yeah. And Team Liquid is on the second place on the round 1. So yeah, they can't afford to go that way.
W2I Bill finds a Baron Rivendare. That's exactly what I was talking about. Finding pieces he needs to work with Eudora. That's good. Show's in a bit of a he's in more trouble than his teammate here. He's at 14 with Yogg. He doesn't have a great setup, but ooh, yikes, he might take some damage here.
Yes, and the Macaw died first, so it means that the board is not going to get the buff.
Can Show take enough damage off the board here to survive? I think he... Oh, there's microbots in there. That makes things a lot worse. Okay, he is fine here.
Ooh, okay, the Hydra died, so...
He will lose the round, but he's not going to be out of it just yet. But it looks like Show has not been able to find any strong standalone minions. He has a golden Pogo, which I think he used here to discover a Tavern Tier 5 minion, but he's behind on health, and I don't think his board is too strong, so he needs to find a way to get stronger this turn. And at this point, when you're so low on health, it's no longer about how can I win this lobby, how can I start scaling, it's get strong now, make sure I get 6th place or 5th place instead of 8th place. So Show is in danger mode, damage control.
Yes, and here White Bill, he got the Bran, because like you said, the Mechs can't scale like all of them the same time like we see in Dragons or Murlocs. So yeah, Bran maybe is the right choice here to try to make better Mechs, right?
Yep. Eudora is in a very good place here. Her board is strong. She has most of the Death Rattle comp already set up. Being this far ahead means that you can choose to spend some gold on some luxury items and luxury minions. And what I mean by that is, even though Bran doesn't work with his composition, if he finds... he already has a Khadgar, actually. So Khadgar plus Bran, Bran doubles the amount of tokens that token generators make. So a Tide Hunter would spawn 2 tokens. With Bran and Khadgar, with Khadgar doubling the amount of minions that get summoned, that means that the Tide Hunter spawns twice as many minions twice. So 4 tokens pop out. Tokens can also triple together to give you a Discover on the next Tavern Tier. So we see something like a Murloc transition where players go Bran, Khadgar, token, get a triple, play it, discover a 6-drop, do it again, get another 6-drop, play a Megasaur, buff all these 1/1 Murlocs on your side of the board. And it takes a lot of actions, but it completely switches your board to a board full of Murlocs, where if you get Divine Shield and Poisonous, that's the late game comp, because Divine Shield Poisonous tends to beat almost everything in the game.
Yes, and here he chose to put his Khadgar on the first place because he's going against Show, which is his teammate. So
yeah, realizing...
Yes, he can't lose for that, like Show.
Okay.
And actually he will.
No, so Show will live here, but W2I Bill's recognized. I mean, he can see that his teammate is in last place. He must be very weak. So putting the Khadgar, I actually didn't even notice. That was a very good move by him. That gives Show at least one extra turn to kind of try to piece together a stronger board. Very
he
good.
Put like the Khadgar and the Khadgar's apprentice on the front of his comp to try to make Show live here.
Very good observation.
Whoa, he's going for.
He's doing it. So he did find the second Khadgar and the Tidehunter. It gives him 8 scouts, which gives him 2 triples, and he discovered a golden egg as well. So he gets 3 triples here, 4 triples now with Khadgar. So now W2I Bill, with a board full of Murlocs, is looking for Megasaur as a discover option here. If he gets Megasaur as a discover option, he can Megasaur all of these Murlocs and hopefully give them Divine Shield and Poisonous. What Megasaur does, it adapts all your friendly Murlocs. Twice. Well, once, and then brand means you can do it twice.
Oh my god, he can't find it.
He can't. But he did find 2 Caligoses, and now, even though he may have gotten weaker, he can lose once or twice. But with double Caligos, at least, as a backup, he can still scale now. So it's not what he was looking for, but you know what? He'll take it, right? Double Caligos, you'll get real strong real quick, even if you might lose this round.
Yes. And here he is going against things Daryl. Let's see how it goes.
Daryl's at 40 health, hasn't lost a round yet.
Yes, and here Trunks is going against Show. Let's see if Show can manage to get a nice board, but seems like not.
I mean, without having any semblance of a good composition at the start, it's kind of difficult to be able to switch completely to something, because you need time, right? You need time to find the good units. You can't just, it's not as simple as, okay, get stronger, buy some stuff. You have to buy stuff that actually makes you stronger, and it's not that easy to find stuff when you don't have a good composition. If you have all Murlocs, okay, let me take some Murloc buffs. If you have all beasts, okay, let me take a Pack Leader or a Mama Bear or a Goldrin. But when you're kind of weak at the start and you're all over the place, it's hard to find 1 or 2 units that make you stronger as a whole.
Yes. Okay. And here, what Bill, he rerolled the Tavern, but he couldn't find like a battle cry to scale his board. Mm-hmm.
He has an alley cat there.
No, on the last one.
Oh, before. Gotcha.
He has to, yeah.
Yeah, so as expected, W2I Bill did lose this round. He did make himself weaker the turn before, and now we see him completely switching to the dragon comp. I mean, we kind of figured he would anyways, because we saw how many dragons he had, and he had the Caligoses. But he still only lost 10 health, and now every single Battlecry minion he plays buffs +10/+10. Each Caligos buffs each dragon +1/+1 for each Battlecry. So one Battlecry gets buffs each dragon twice now. And we can see that from the animations.
This is really, really big here.
Yeah. If W2I Bill doesn't die, I mean, I don't think he can die this turn, just because his board is strong enough to survive. Even if he loses the round, I don't think he's going to be dying. So I think after next turn, if no one else has Murlocs in the lobby, I think W2I Bill will be winning this lobby, based on what we can see right now.
Yes, and here PF is in the same position that White Bill was before, the Death Rattle Mech composition thing.
Yeah, that taunt's gonna hurt quite a bit. The egg does get popped here, which is good, but losing the Draconid Enforcer there was a bit of an issue for PF. He might still be fine, actually. The spawn on the Zoth buffing everything twice with the Baron Riverdare looks like it ended up being okay. He might actually be fine here.
Yes, but I think for Nightwalk, maybe this is it.
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah. And this is kind of what I was talking about. Syndragosa helps you get to late game pretty well, because you have the early buffs on your minions. The problem is it's hard to find benefits from it in the late game. Not to say that that's bad. I do think I think Syndragosa is a good early tempo option, and it is kind of what you want, because it makes you get to late game much safer. But it looks like it didn't work out for Nightwalk in this lobby.
Yes. And here, what do you think about this composition for CMA?
not the normal mech board you're used to with Maleficent. But I mean, that's just the way it goes. You don't have to use your hero power effectively, right? She does have a couple of mechs here, but it looks like she's going for menagerie type comp. She has a beast, a dragon, a mech, and a murloc. Lightfang Enforcer is a Tavern Tier 5 minion. It's a 2/2. At the end of your turn, buff each friendly minion type by +2/+1.
Oof.
So every turn, 4 from minions are getting +2/+1 for a total of +8/+4. And now she has 2 of them, so it's +16/+8 every single turn if she just leaves her board the way it is. It doesn't scale as fast as something like dragons or murlocs if they have Bran or if they have Kaligos, but it's still a good way to end up going for a nice top 4, top 3 comp. With both her and RDU still in the lobby.
White Bill is going against her, and look at this board. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, 2 Kaligos is scaling. It adds up real quick. Every single Battlecry now is +12/+12. That's insane. So normally a Battlecry minion like Menagerie Magician, best case scenario, it buffs 3 things, right? It buffs a Beast, a Dragon, and Murloc, and that's +6. That's pretty good. Any Battlecry W2I build picks up is +12/+12. A Pogo Hopper gives all your other minions +12/+12.
Yeah.
So even though Sime had a pretty good board, we can just kind of see this is a board that scales a little bit versus a board that scales a lot. And over the course of, 10, 11, 12 turns, that difference adds up quite a bit, where she barely was able to put a dent in W2I Bill's board.
Yeah, so Team Liquid here, besides Show, was the first one to get out of this tavern. Seems like White Bill is in a really good position to get this lobby.
Definitely. Sparkling's still in it with quite a lot of health left. Trunks is in as well, and RDU is still left in the lobby. So we have 1 player from each team left over in the lobby.
Okay. So here, Sparkling is thinking a lot.
Yeah,
if he will get this golden macaw. Okay.
Exactly. He has the option for triple here. Looks like he's Tavern Tiering up so that his triple gives him a Tavern Tier 6 Discover. The macaw doesn't quite fit his lineup right now because it procs a death. So the macaw, when it attacks, it activates a friendly minion's death rattle. With the only death rattles being Harvest Golem and Sneasel Shredder. They're fine as death rattles, but they're not that great or impactful as something like a Goldrin, a Spawn of N'Zoth, a Mechano Egg. So I think it's kind of weird to have the macaw. However, if you have a golden macaw, that's fine because it gives you a bigger minion discover. And it's just a big minion. I mean, you don't have to have the best types of synergies. If you're just trying to make your board strong and you recognize that someone else is going to win the lobby anyways, just try to beat everyone else, Make some big minions, make sure they kind of get knocked out before they can get their composition going.
Yes, and get Scholar going for him. Trunks here with the Murloc composition. Yeah.
We are going to see Murlocs versus Dragons if both of these players make it to the end. It looks like Trunks is facing off against RDU. So we'll see who comes out on top here. Doesn't look like RDU was able to find that super late game golden buff we were talking about. He either buffed a Security Rover or an Iron Sensei, I think, with this hero power, which is a way to scale with mechs. It gives a friendly mech +4/+4 at the end of your turn, an Iron Sensei, a golden Iron Sensei. But it doesn't scale as fast as, again, Murlocs, where you can get an entire board buffed, or Dragons, where you can also get an entire board buffed.
Yeah. And I think this is it for RDU run.
Yeah. I think he did a good job. He picked a riskier hero, and he went for, clearly he probably tried to level and find a build-defining minion, but he couldn't find it. And when he realized that he couldn't find it and was kind of starting to lose health, he just put it on something else that helps him stay alive longer. So recognizing that he's not winning this lobby, he might as well try and get as far as he can by going for a weaker composition, but at least trying to guarantee a 4th place. And with RDU and Simi being knocked out in 4th and 5th place, not exactly what they were looking for, but they still managed to get some points for their team.
Yes, and here White Bill, he gave 20 damage, but the Daryl stays alive.
Yeah. Benefits of being strong early. You have a lot of health, and even if you end up losing rounds later on, even like this, by taking 20 plus health, you can still survive a little bit longer because you have that extra health to work with.
Yes, and here the Nadina has to go first because he knows he's going against Murlocs, so he's wondering if those Murlocs already have the poison thing, so he has to protect his own dragons for the poison.
So what Trunks is looking for here, he knows he's up against big dragons. I don't know if he's seen that WTY Bill has Nadina, but regardless of that fact, all his Murlocs have poison, or actually 2 of them don't, but the Tidecaller is pretty big at this point. And the Amalgadon that doesn't have poisonous isn't quite as big, but I mean, that's fine. The main thing he's looking for is Divine Shield for the Murlocs on the left. He needs to find a Gentle Megasaur to adapt them. It's good to have poisonous, but if he goes up against an Nadina board, he needs his own Divine Shield, otherwise the opposing dragons are going to kill his Murlocs with the Divine Shield before they die.
Yes. And Selfless Hero here will give a hand on this turn, but let's see if he will survive together.
Yep, Selfless Hero is like a one-time Megasaur buff just for the round. It gives a friendly minion Divine Shield. So when you can't find Megasaur, putting something like a Selfless Hero in can definitely help you a little bit.
Yes. So here Sparkling is going against a ghost.
Yep. When there's an odd number of players left in the lobby, one of the bottom 3 players left will randomly face a.
Oh my god!
Oh, you think? Oh no! You'll face the most recent person who died, and it counts as like facing a ghost. That being said, you can still lose to the ghost, and it looks like Sparkling was not strong enough to beat the ghost, so the ghost will knock out Sparkling. I'm sure that
yeah.
Trunks will be happy to see that. Back with a vengeance. But this does mean that Trunks has at least secured second place in this lobby because Sparkling was not able to defeat the ghost here. But I mean, this is what it comes down to. We see dragons versus Murlocs often in the end of a lobby. If one person with Murlocs happens to survive and one person with dragons happens to survive this long. We see huge. Now, remember all the minions we had at the start of the game and how weak they were, and how big all of these are starting to get now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look the size of this Calicus or the Amalgadon.
Yeah, they're huge.
Huge.
And we kind of see. This is like an extreme case where late game, where both players had like kind of what they were looking. So Trunks is still missing out on some stuff, but both of them have their scaling units. Trunks has Bran, W2I Bill has Kalos, and you can see over the course of the game how big of a difference this makes. Remember all the people who died this round who had like decent boards, decent compositions, but they didn't have the super late game compositions. This is what the difference is. When you can get something to this point, it's so much more powerful than all the other compositions that might make it to mid game.
Yes, and here he's going with Nadina because of the Amalgadons who has the poison thing, so they can have the Divine Shield again.
We see W2I Bill here picking up an Unstable Ghoul. And you would ask, why would you put a 1/3 on your board at this point? It's so small. Well, when Unstable Ghoul dies, it deals 1 damage to all minions. What this means is that he expected to see Trunks try to go for a Divine Shield Megasaur adapt. Against that, Ghoul gets rid of all the opposing Divine Shields. So what W2I Bill was doing there, he played the Ghoul first, make sure all Divine Shields are gone, then his Nadina second, and it gives all his friendly dragons Divine Shield, which can help tech against something like a super strong board of Divine Shield Murlocs. It looks like W2I Bill still didn't get there, even with a tech card.
Yes, and the weight goes to Trunks the Stubborn. It went smoothly for his way.
Yeah. I mean, the Nadina that Trunks picked up looked like it did pay off quite a bit here, being able to reapply Divine Shields to his Amalgadons. And this is where we see players going past. So the first level is getting this late game comp, right? Making sure you can scale as much as you can and make it this far to top 2 to top 3. And now we see players actually try to focus on positioning, figuring out which cards they need to pick up that can help them stay a little bit stronger. And this is exactly what we're seeing, where Trunks picks up Nadina. He even picked up a Macaw. The Macaw can proc a friendly Death Rattle. And even though he has a bunch of 1/1 death rattles on the Murlocs, he's still doing it for the chance that it pops the Nadina, because that's what he realizes is probably the most powerful thing he can do. And this is where we kind of see players go from understanding how to play to the mid to the late game, and understanding how to win and get first place.
Yes, and here Trunks got the Toxic Ping for the another Amalgadon.
Yep, gonna be a pretty big deal. Divine Shield Big Boy is good. Divine Shield Poisonous Big Boy is even better.
Yes, and White Bill, he gave up of his goal.
Yeah, he threw a second Nadina here. There's nothing to say that you can't put two Nadinas down. The first one will go off, give Divine Shields. A few minions will start attacking, and then the second Nadina will attack and die, and reapply Divine Shield to everything. It looks like it'll be one off here, because the Bagurgle will kill the Amalgadon before the second Nadina goes. And this is one of the benefits of having Murlocs versus Dragons late game. You can adapt the Murlocs to get to have Death Rattle spawn 2/1/1 plants, and when you have these super big late game comms where it's big Divine Shields hitting each other, the 1/1 plant can help knock off the Divine Shield instead of the Divine Shield hitting your big minion. And unfortunately, it wasn't enough here. WTY Bill's board was big enough, and the second Nadina helped quite a bit here. And because of that, he was able to take the win over Trunks here and secure first place, which is exactly what Liquid needed to try and bump their points up. And I wouldn't be surprised if after this, Team Liquid is first in the standings. I think we're going to wait for a graphic here just to make sure.
Yes, because Team Liquid was in second place with 9 points. No, actually, they were in the first place already. So yeah, we will see Team Liquid in the first place, really probably.
Yeah, so at the end of the first lobby, Team Liquid was in second place with 10 points. World Elite was in first place with 14 points. So with the first place finish here from WTY Bill, that's an extra 9 points. I don't quite remember what show finished. When there's so many things going on in the lobby. Yeah, in the last one. There's so many things going on in the lobby. It's kind of hard to keep track of all late players, who got knocked out in what place, who's on what hero, what compositions they were going. I'm sure as we get more and more tournaments, we'll have maybe some sort of... Maybe that'd be a cool in-game thing to see, where you can kind of have like a spectator mode and say, here are the standings, here are the, who's on what. Be pretty interesting.
Yeah, so by show being the last one this lobby, and White Bill, he could manage to get the first place for them. Like, this is really good.
Yeah, it's really big. So that means they should have, I think, 20 points. For Team WE, I think Sparkling was knocked out in third place. We said he died to the Ghost. I don't quite remember where Nightwalk ended up. In any case, I think both Team World Elite and Team Liquid will probably be in first place. I think Team G2 will still be in fourth. Simi and RDU had a decent showing here. They finished fourth and fifth. But with their small number of 4 points after the first lobby, I don't think fourth and fifth will be enough to get them out of last place, because we saw, I think Trunks was second in that lobby. So that should add some extra points to Team LP, probably ensuring that they're still in third place. So the only thing that might have changed this after this second lobby is that Team Liquid might have surpassed World Elite in terms of standings, but regardless of that, they should still be generally close. So the race right now for the last lobby will be likely between World Elite and Team Liquid. LP might be a little bit behind, and then I'm not even sure G2 can actually get a first place at this point. If they get first and second, even if they get first and second, I don't know if it'll be enough.
I don't think so, yeah. Yes, but let's see. I think G2 is one of with most cheering on the chat, I have sure. So yeah, you guys have to keep cheering on them.
Here's a recap of how the lobby went. So actually, all the teams got very similar points this round. So it means the standings likely won't change too much. I think with this, actually, World Elite is still in first place by 3 points. Based on these, so these aren't the updated standings. This is just the points distribution for this for this second lobby. But if we take it as 9 points for everyone, it means that the standings are still going to be the same, except for the fact that I think Team Liquid gained 1 extra point than everyone else. So the lobby is still very similar here.
Yeah, so WE is with 3 points plus than Team Liquid.
Actually, so if G2 gets first and second place, that's 16 points. They get up to 29. If World Elite gets 8th and 7th, if Team Liquid gets 6th and 5th, and Team LP gets 4th and 3rd, maybe G2 manages to make it through to first place. So there is. You guys should cheer for them.
Yeah, this would be a hell of storyline, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's. I think it's nice that we're seeing a couple of one extra lobby compared to the just two lobbies. Yeah, exactly. It's nice getting one extra shot to kind of give you and your team a better shot at kind of getting there, because it's with all these, like, there's a lot of different effects here that kind of impact how you perform in the lobby. Obviously, what hero you pick, what minions are offered, what's banned in the lobby. So there's a lot of factors that you can kind of not really control. You still have a lot of decisions to make, and you can definitely make yourself place high in the lobby. But sometimes we've seen players just have for very poor hero choices, they're offered very weak minions early on, and that might kind of knock them out of one of the lobbies. But over the course of 3 lobbies, they're able to showcase their strength.
Yes, I love when consistency take the place of the lucky one. So yeah, we are going ahead for the last hobby of the Battlegrounds.
Yeah, this is the final Battlegrounds lobby in this tournament. This will decide which team, which 2 individuals are going to be able to win the Gold Club World Cup Battlegrounds portion.
Yeah.
W2I Bill picking up Sir Finley, so he gets to see 3 hero powers here. I think he might lean towards Brand's hero power on the right, where his hero power is 1 gold, refresh the tavern with Battlecry minions, which can be useful for scaling a board, because Battlecry minions tend to have beneficial effects. It also works early, where you can hero power to get extra token minions if that's what you want.
Yes.
Show, starting off with Wrathweaver, freezing a demon here, going for a demon start. Not a bad option.
Okay, and here we will not have pirates again.
Yeah. Eudora is out of the lobby as well. We don't see her picked up. So G2, I think from their perspective, they need to take the riskiest, highest reward payoff they can find. Consistency does not matter for them at this point. They need to get first and second. I think that just has to happen. So we'll see how they decide to strategize and kind of pick stuff to make sure that they're able to get that.
Yes. And what do you think about Milhouse?
Milhouse is interesting. So Milhouse is a little different than other heroes. Milhouse's hero power is still passive. It only costs 2 gold to purchase a minion as Milhouse, but it costs 2 gold to refresh the tavern. Refreshing the tavern is telling Bob, "Hey, I don't like these. Give me a new tavern. I want to see some new minions." So Milhouse's costs 2. On top of that, it costs him 1 extra gold for each tavern tier up. So he'll generally be paying more money to tavern tier up as opposed to other players, but he gets a discount on purchases. So he plays very different. There's generally a curve people follow based on how much gold they have and what they can do each turn. Generally, turn 1 you buy, turn 2 you level. Sometimes you deviate from that based on your hero. But Milhouse plays very weird because all of the gold the gold changes it makes things a little wackier. So it's kind of an interesting hero to follow.
Yes, here PF was really upset because he lost his first battle on this lobby, and he is with Rafaam.
Yes, Rafaam's hero power is 1 gold. During the next combat, steal or get a copy of the first minion you kill on your opponent's board. Now, I actually didn't see if he completely lost, but if he didn't kill anything, the hero power is wasted.
He didn't kill anything.
Oh no. So without killing anything, that means that his hero power was wasted. And the strength of Rafaam is being able to get that minion for 1 gold. We talked about this with Maiev as well. She has a way to get a minion for 1 gold. So if you're going for this different curve where you're not leveling up with people normally, but you're trying to build up a bigger board faster, it's so bad when you can't actually get that minion from your hero power, because you're going off curve and you're still not getting as strong as you would otherwise if you were leveling normally with people.
Yes, and here we see RDU with a huge board because of the Milhouse.
Yep, that's one way to do it. Picking up a lot more minions faster means you can fill up your board, you get stronger than other players faster, and then even though you're paying more to level up your tavern tier, you're already stronger, so you can afford to tavern tier up once or twice, sometimes even 3 times if you happen to be strong enough by that point in the game, which gives you
And
access
what do
to
you
the high
think?
minions.
And what do you think about Elise?
Elise is interesting. She's not the greatest tempo hero, but so here her hero power is when you tavern tier up, you get a map, and that map costs 3 gold, which is also the normal cost of purchasing the minion. This lets you discover a minion from that tavern tier. So once she levels to 2, she can discover a tavern tier 2 minion. Once she levels to 3, she can discover a tavern tier 3 minion, and so on. Early game, it's not that impactful because generally none of the early minions are so impactful that they change the course of the game. But later on, when she gets to Tavern Tier 5 to Tavern Tier 6, she gets to discover a Tavern Tier 5 minion. And if she can discover something like a Bran, like a Bagurgle, that can really help stuff start rolling, especially when she's going for Murloc composition. Being able to get to 5 and immediately discover the minions she needs, if she can hit that, it can definitely be powerful.
Yes, and we see Timei is trying to like force some Murloc composition. Like you said, is the strongest composition that we can get, and they are needing that to try to win this whole thing.
Definitely. It can be a little weak early if you don't find some of the Murloc buffs, because generally Murlocs tend to be small and weak by themselves. And because of that, we see her taking some early damage. But I think she recognizes that she needs to make something happen. So going for this, even though she's losing some of the early rounds, I think is probably the right strategy. Even if she ends up losing this lobby in 8th place, for example, I think she does need to take a riskier strategy. And we can definitely see her understanding that and going for that.
Okay. So, what do you think about the General Kra?
He's interesting. So the way Sky General Crag's hero power works, every turn, the hero power upgrades a little bit. At the start of the turn, you can use it to get 1 gold. On turn 2, you can use it to get 2 gold. On turn 3, you can use it to get 3 gold, and so on, up to a maximum of 10. So by turn 10, you can use it to get 10 gold. So what players generally do with it is they let it sit for a little bit. Around 8 or 9 gold, they might level, hit the hero power, get all the money back, and then not hero power, tavern tier up, hit the button, get all the money back, and hit the power again, hit the tavern tier up again. And this lets you tavern tier up twice very quickly. So you might lose a couple rounds there because you're not buying minions, but then you'll immediately have access to stronger minions faster than other players. So it lets you kind of catapult yourself forward for a round or two where you're just stronger than everyone else if you can pick up those big minions.
Okay, and here WTB is trying to find something, but it's not what he wants here for sure.
So with the Murloc build he has set up, he did find a triple, and on Tavern Tier 4, he was hoping to find a Bran, a Primal Fin Lookout, or a Bagurgle. And unfortunately, he didn't quite hit when he needed. He's still relatively strong and has some health to work with, so even though he missed, he still has decent options. And his hero power, giving the Tavern Battlecry minions, can help with Murlocs. There are a couple of Battlecry Murlocs that you'd be looking for at this point in the game to try and buff the rest of your board. So even though he might lose this round, I think he might still be okay, even though it was unfortunate that he didn't quite hit what he needed there to kind of scale past where he is.
Yes, and here Show is going to give some damage on this Khadgar.
Yeah, Sky Captain Crag taking a lot of damage here. Yikes. It's a lot of damage to take early. It looks like both World Elite players are in last place right now. Definitely not where they want to be. They're up against Team Liquid right now, I think, and they really need to make sure they don't get knocked out before Team Liquid. They might not be as concerned about the other teams because they have a little bit of a lead, but Team Liquid is very close to them, so they definitely need to make sure that they stay as strong as possible.
Yes. But I think it's not going super good here for Sparkling.
Yeah. Oh, and to point out, Sky Captain Crag's hero power can only be used once per game, and he hasn't used it. I think he's considering now if he wants to go ahead and hit it. He actually hasn't used it yet. That might be one of the reasons why he's a little bit weaker. So his hero power hasn't done anything yet this game. Once he clicks it, he'll have quite a bit more, a bit of a power spike, and it looks like he might be waiting for next turn, so he can maximize the number of rolls on 5, which means that he has as many options as possible to try and get a Tavern Tier 5 minion. It might cost him a bit of health here, so we'll see how that pans out for him.
Yes, and he's going against his teammate.
Oh, that's probably why then. He realizes that his teammate's probably going to make himself a little bit weaker for him. And because of that, he's being a bit greedy and saying, okay, I can wait a little bit. Next turn, I get 1 extra gold anyways, so I might as well wait for that 1 extra turn, get the 1 extra gold, knowing that my teammate's going to make himself a little bit weaker for me. Mm-hmm. Or hoping that...
Yeah, I think he has to hope here.
Okay, RDU on Milhouse here. Gonna take some damage. So he's at the point where he is not as strong anymore. He still has those early game minions. He's been leveling behind his full board, and it looks like he's finally starting to lose some rounds. I imagine he's been leveling this whole time, so now he might be looking to upgrade his board a little bit and make himself stronger.
Yes. He's still on Tavern Tier 4, and isn't looking that great.
Yeah.
And
I think he needs to roll to make himself stronger. Generally, you want to level higher as Milhouse to get those higher Tavern Tier minions because it's cheaper for you to pick them up. The problem is that he's losing fights and recognizes if he levels up here, it's not going to be a good time. He needs to make sure he stops losing, and he can probably level after he wins a round or 2 now.
Yes, and the Red Fever is starting to be a problem for him.
Yeah, this can be an issue, right? The early Wrathweavers are nice because they make you very strong early game, but eventually, to scale them, you still have to hit yourself. You have to play a demon, deal 1 damage to yourself to build them a bit bigger. So he's making himself stronger, but it also means that he's making himself
taking
less healthy.
Some damage.
Exactly.
Yes. White Bill going with some Murlocs here, and it's already looking good.
Yep. Got a bit of a buff board now. He was able to level to 5. It looks like he did hero power this turn, so he likely got the option to pick up some battle cries, which is likely where he got Bagurgle. He's low on health, so even though he looks a bit strong right now, if he gets a bad fight, he could get very, very low on health. I don't think he can take 17 at this point, based on how far in the game we are. I don't think people's boards are so strong that 17 damage can happen right now, but crazy things have happened. We'll see if that does end up happening. Probably not in this round, based on what his opponent's board is.
I think he will manage to win this round. Or no.
The Khadgar is kind of cute there. The Khadgar spawned first, which means that all the minions that spawn after the Khadgar, like the microbots, summon twice as much because of his effect. Okay. Close, but W2I build taking the win there over Rafaam. Rafaam actually looking like he's quite low on health as well. That's the PF from Team LP there.
Yes, in here, RDU and CMA are the bottom 2.
Very rough. Both of those heroes want to be ahead so they can level. Well, Elise wants to be ahead so she can level and then discover that big minion from hero power. And Milhouse wants to be ahead so he can level and then pick up better units. So both of them being behind here makes me think that they're in a lot of trouble in this lobby.
Okay, so here CMA found the mega sword she was needing. Yes, but she couldn't find the Divine Shield, but yeah, the main one, which is the poison one, she found it.
Yeah, so all her Murlocs there have quite a bit of health, and it doesn't matter if you have like a 323. If that is poisonous, it might as well be 1,000,000 damage because poisonous kills anything it attacks. So it doesn't matter that the rest of her Murlocs don't have a lot of attack. Like you said, the important thing is she found poisonous there. So she has very much the board she needs to probably stabilize, and I think if she survives the next round or 2, she could come back and start winning the lobby. We haven't seen a huge late game composition from most other players, so if she's able to make sure she doesn't die and sticks around long enough with the Murlocs, I think she should be able to get a win in this lobby.
Yeah. And we already saw CMA going with Murlocs sometimes, and she managed to get the first place once. So yeah, she's going with this strategy.
We'll see if she can do it again. See Nightwalk here up against RDU. This is kind of big for both players. Yeah. If Nightwalk can knock out RDU, he'll realize that his team is much more likely to to win the whole thing just by getting a consistent placement. If one of G2's players are knocked out at this point, it means that, and it looks like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12. That means RDU is going to be knocked out on last place, and I think with that 8th place, G2 is completely out of the running. So Simi can still do the best she can, but I don't think G2 can get first place anymore.
Yes, and she saw that. Yeah, really rough here for them.
WTY Bill being knocked out is very big as well. Team Liquid was up front, right? They did need to make sure they got a decent finish here, and their competition, LP and WE, are both having both players left in the lobby. So W2I Bill needs to get a first place here, and he has to hope that the other two teams kind of start falling behind and maybe allow Simi to get a second place or a first place, as long as he gets second.
Yeah.
So I think World Elite's looking in a pretty good spot here. If they both get knocked out soon, LP could end up winning the whole thing if they get top placements. And if they don't get top placements, I think Show in first place, Simi in second, and the remaining 4 players being 3rd through 6th might allow Liquid to get in there. But I'm not quite sure because the math is hard.
Yeah. Lorinda, are you here?
Okay, and this is where we see a sort of menagerie build. Trunks doesn't have Murlocs, Trunks doesn't have dragons. And so he realizes, all right, I'm going to take Brand. Yeah, he has a couple of beasts. He has a mech there and a crowd favorite. So he's just trying to make himself as strong as possible, recognizing that he's not able to find that late game build he needs. So he'll just use Bran with some battle cries to make himself stronger as long as possible until he gets knocked out.
Yeah.
Sparkling cheering here, which makes me think that he's very favored to win this fight.
Yeah. Seems like.
I mean, based on how big his Murlocs are, it looks like that is the case, which means Rafaam will be knocked out here, guaranteeing World Elite a further placement.
Okay.
We see Nightwalk on the right here. Let's see how he's doing up against the Rat King. I think
it doesn't look that good, right?
No, but he's not gonna die here, and that's important. Just staying alive as long as possible, getting those extra points, I think is going to be very important. Because during this time, even though he's not winning the fight, his teammate did manage to knock PF out, and now with LP out. With LP PF being knocked out of the lobby, there's the only team left that has 2 players is World Elite. There's 1 player from G2 left, 1 player from LP left, and 1 player from Team Liquid. So if World Elite can just stick it out a little bit longer, I think they might be able to, if not win the lobby, even if they get 2nd, 3rd, 4th place, they might be able to win the whole thing based on the fact that they just have more people getting more points.
Yes, and here Simei found another Megastar, but she couldn't find the Divine Shield again.
Yeah, I mean, her Murlocs are still very big, and looking at everyone else's boards, there's no big Divine Shield minions, so I think she should still be okay against everyone else she faces, at least for now. Yeah. But she probably will be looking to, even if she doesn't get Divine Shields, if she can make her Murloc's health big enough that it counts like a Divine Shield, I mean, if the Murlocs get like 3 attack and 100 health, that's still good enough. Obviously, that's very far away, but just to give you an extreme example, if she can still kind of scale the health, she should still be okay, even if she does miss on the Divine Shields.
Oh my god. Show is killing himself here. Help me. I can't stand this.
So we talked about the Wrath Weavers. There's another minion in Demons, the Floating Watchers. When you deal damage to a hero, this minion gets +2/+2. So when you play a demon that procs the Wrath Weaver, it also buffs the Floating Watcher. Obviously, you're taking a lot of damage at this point, but you're making your board very, very, very... I mean, you can see these demons are huge. And then that's kind of how big demons work. So you leverage your health to a point where you can no longer leverage your health and then hope that your minions are bigger than your opponents.
Yes, and here is Sparkling will be out for sure.
Yeah, and this is very big for the remaining teams, especially for Team Liquid, for Show.
Oh,
with Sparkling
getting...
out. Oh, no, you're right. 2 health. It's so difficult to count up all the damage on board, especially when there's 2 screens going on. So never mind. Yes, it looks like Sparkling's still in a 2 health, which is very important for Team WE.
Yes, even though the Murlocs are really strong, they doesn't give a lot of damage, right?
Yeah, they're generally lower Tavern tier minions. They're minions you pick up early, right? And they stick around because you buff them a lot. I want to point out that Team World Elite has 2 players left in the top 4. There's Show left over for Team Liquid and Simi for G2. I don't know the math, but I think it's very likely World Elite may have secured first place. They should still try to fight as hard as they can because I'm sure they're not worried about the numbers as well. They're worried about just doing the best they can until the lobby's over. So let's see how Show and Simi's placements compared to Nightwalk and Sparkling's will lead to the standings.
Yes, and this is not a surprise here. I think like WE was one of the favorites since the beginning, right?
Yeah, definitely. The other so a lot of the production was telling us to keep an eye out on specifically Nightwalk and Sparkling and on Team World Elite because of their prowess in the battlegrounds and how good they are at kind of navigating through everything, trying to figure out how to. Oh, what's going on here?
Yes. What happened with his board?
I think Nightwalk is facing Sparkling, and he realizes that he is weaker, so he wants to make sure that he doesn't accidentally knock out his teammate here and try to make sure that Sparkling makes it as far as possible.
Okay.
So between the two of them, someone is going to lose this round. I think it's better for Team World Elite if Sparkling lives because he has the Murlocs, because he can actually scale past this. This is a very smart play, realizing that one of you guys are going to die, and he just realizes, I'm weaker than my teammate. My teammate should get to go through and try to win the lobby from here. This is a very good play. Unfortunate that they face each other here, but when there's so few people left in the lobby, it's going to happen at some point.
Yes, and here they have to have at least 3 minions on the board, right? So this is why he has like even little minions. He has to have a lot of. Yeah.
这是你的奖励。
Yes, and here Sparkling is trying a lot to get those. Oh, he found it. Let's see if this Megasaur will bright shine. Yeah. Oh, the Megasaur there.
I was muted. What I was trying to say is that Simi has the big comp here. She has Divine Shield on everything. She has Poisonous and all the Murlocs. And unfortunately, Sparkling wasn't quite able to find, even though he found Megasaur, he found the Murloc buffs, he still scaled them. As you can see, his Murlocs are bigger than Simi's, but late game, the health doesn't matter. What matters is if you have Divine Shield, if you have Poisonous, if you have the important adapts. And it looks like Simi had them, and Sparkling did not.
Yes, and here Hulus will definitely going for the lethal here. So even though if WE lost this fight, lost this lobby, I think they are in a really good place to manage and win the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think looking at the stats left on the board, I believe Simi's going to take this lobby. So still a very strong showing for her. She ended up going for risky strategy because she realized what her team needed. I think RDU did as well. Milhouse can be a bit more of a risky pickup because you are at the mercy of kind of what's offered. You can't re-roll that often because the hero power is more expensive. So still great showing from G2 here, but even with her first place in this lobby, I don't think Simi is going to help G2 win this. And it looks like World Elite, we just saw the graphic there. World Elite, after this third lobby, has enough points and I believe have won, with Team Liquid following up in second, Team LP in third, and G2 in fourth place. This was this was interesting. We saw some Murlocs, we saw some dragons, we saw a lot of stuff. We saw mechs, demons, we saw almost everything. I think the only thing we didn't see today were beasts. We saw some death rattles too.
Yeah. Yes, congratulations to Sparkling and Nightwalk. They made a really great job on the past week. We have 1 week of Battlegrounds here. This is like super insane. I'm looking really forward to see if the future will give us more esports of Battlegrounds.
Yeah, definitely. I'm honestly looking forward to seeing one of these Chinese teams if we can get them in some more events that we're able to cast or watch. But yeah, over the course of the week in the 6 initial lobbies, we saw Nightwalk and Sparkling perform very well. We saw Nightwalk start doing some, like we were told, he wasn't able to get quite a full Murloc transition over the course of the week, but we saw him going for some crazy strategies with Bran and Khadgar, getting a bunch of triples, playing a bunch of stuff, which we saw some other players do as well. But they ultimately, over the course of the week, showed how powerful they are, showed how strong they are over the course of 6 initial lobbies and these 3 final lobbies. Even though they didn't end up getting first place there, that's the thing. You just have to show that you're consistent in these 3 lobbies. You don't necessarily have to win. You just have to do well enough with your team, and they did exactly that. So congratulations to Team World Elite, and good show to all the other players as well. We still saw them fight as hard as they could. We saw some different strategies. We saw people take riskier options, which I do believe showcase that they understand what they needed to do to sort of make the right plays. But ultimately, it worked out in the end for Team World Elite.
Yes, we saw like RGO on the last lobby, on the second lobby, going with Reno, and then now Simei going with all the Murloc composition since the beginning of the game. But Simei made the first place on the last lobby, but yeah, they couldn't get the first places here.
So after all these grueling matches of Battlegrounds, and here's a nice little graphic to show you the final points. World Elite got quite a few more points as well than the other teams. All the other teams actually ended up being pretty close. With Simi's first place finish there at the end, she was able to pull up some extra points for her team and get them really close to Team Liquid and LP, but unfortunately World Elite was just too far ahead for them. Now with... and I lost my train of thought. Right, so with World Elite winning, our first portion of the tournament is going to be over now with Battlegrounds, and we see a Chinese take first place. A Chinese team take first place, and then an international team, and then third place was the other Chinese team, and then fourth place the second international team. Do you think that in Constructed we'll be seeing the same thing, where the Chinese end up winning?
Well, this is their tournament, right? So I will not be surprised if we see like the Chinese team going to this. More because on Constructed, I think they have like they are more used to Lesser Hero standing, right? So I don't know, maybe they have advantage on this.
Perhaps. I know in Battlegrounds, at least, they've had I think almost all the Chinese players in this tournament have had, we were shown their Battleground ratings, and all of them were incredibly high. We're talking 10, 11, 12, 13. A lot of them had 14K rating as well, which is just incredible. I mean, we've all kind of played casually at our point as well. And even for those who have tried climbing a bit higher, just as reference, I've gotten to, I think, 11K, and that was the highest I've ever been. And these players are going 3K full higher than we are. It's incredible, and it definitely shows in the play as well. Okay. Yeah. This has been fun. I've had a great time casting Battlegrounds. We are going to hop to a break before we dive right into Constructed. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more finals.